2021 forecasting for each individual rising sign. I would just like to start with a general overview. And I'd also like to start by thanking the Almighty God for protecting us and helping us through 2020, as He will continue doing for us moving forward. Now we will see a shift towards more online schooling, shopping with the North Node in Gemini, as we've seen happening already in 2020, including most forms of communication, trade, other businesses and online businesses will become the norm. Cash will be less heard of, and eventually moving more towards the past and digital forms. So for most of 2021, we could be experiencing some uncomfortability as we have a difficult square aspect in the sky between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, both fixed signs that don't really want to budge, and both are co-rulers of this beautiful Aquarian age that we're moving into now. And they are not in a harmonious conversation, and therefore we can expect that this is going to take more work and will take more time before the idealistic Aquarian age can be reached, so to speak. We will have to contend with much more restrictions of our freedoms. We'll have to contend with restrictions that will include freedom of speech on all platforms, probably, information, the internet, separation, probably new legislation in regards to aviation in general and flying. Of course, a lack of privacy goes with tracking, as well as alliance integration. And really it is the old versus the new, and we will see many rebel and stand up for their rights, and we'll also see a lot of disciplinary action and fining throughout the year. It's very much an order out of chaos energy, so I don't want to pretend like this is going to be this amazing year. Of course, there will be blessings. It's very seldom in life where we only have good or only have bad. There's always a mixture of the two, and it'll all depend on how we approach our obstacles. We'll be forced to be more creative and to find new possibilities and to connect to the higher vibration of God. We will probably learn to live more moment to moment and to really appreciate the little things, to appreciate the family, our family that's around us that we normally take for granted. And it will be good for us to stay in gratitude of the things that we do have and do the best with what we can and what we do have, and to focus on nature and on the sunrise, to remind yourself that God is still in control and that the truth is steady and secure. And as long as you're rooted in the truth, nothing can sway you, and it doesn't matter what your circumstances or reality look like, you know where your roots are. So that will be very important throughout the year. And we will be moving towards living much lighter and more flexible. It will be wise to be prepared, and also to really look where you can be of service and of help in the community as well, and how people can help each other. I recently saw in Marketplace a lady that started a group that just basically gives things away. So it's people that maybe they didn't lose their job, and they still have an income and they're still okay, but they have maybe some children's shoes that they don't need anymore, and instead of selling them, they're donating them, or they're just posting it and someone can come pick it up, hey, I've got a size 7 this or that. And people are really starting to come together and help each other out, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that. And your currency is really going to become your talents and skills and the things that make you unique. And if you can sew something and someone else can build something, and you can trade services and you can trade things, we're going to see a lot more of that happening going forward. We'll see a lot of ups and downs, like I've said in my previous video as well, of the financial world. We're looking at a global recession for a long time. This is also a time where we will become more aware of each other's similarities and connectedness than each other's differences. And we will be more focused on our purpose and the contemplation of the deeper meaning of life and the deeper side of life. And that'll be more the order of the day. And Jupiter will bring in much learning and also guidance from above to help us navigate through this grief period of the loss of the familiar. And it will allow us to tap into the Creator's energy and make lemonade out of lemons. And through that, we will establish amazing connections with like-minded people, with our Creator, and there will be much spiritual blessings coming from this year going forward. So let's begin with your individual rising signs 2021 forecasting. Welcome, Aries rising, sun or moon. Please listen to your rising sign first, as this will give you the most accurate placement in the forecast. If you're not familiar with what your rising sign is, email me your date of birth and year, as well as the place of birth and the exact time of birth if possible, and I can let you know. Well, let's start with your 10th house, Aries, where Pluto in Capricorn has been since 2008 and will be there until 2023. Now, this is a long transit, and during this transit, you usually strive more than ever before. Now, you're basically going through a period where you're really trying to find out what your role is in the world. And Pluto here gives you the power to achieve those goals. And it also helps you with insight into what they are. It can sometimes mean that you could, in that time period of the transit, which is quite a while, that you might have changed jobs often, or maybe positions, or maybe investigating other directions quite a bit in order for you to find out what it is that you really want to do with your life. Because Pluto here really raises the ambitions and helps you to take control and rise in that area of your life. And the 10th house is the area of career. It's the area of your business, your status in life. It's also your employer and so forth. That area of your life that you'd be dealing with. Now, Pluto in this area can sometimes also make it that you have very, very high standards in some areas, and you might be somewhat ruthless. So you want to make sure that you are taking others into consideration, and also considering other people's feelings. This is not a time that you want to do anything in a shortcut kind of way. You want to stick to the rules, stick to the ethics, and do things the right way, because you're in Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is therefore dispositing over Pluto at this time, and Saturn wants things done right and by following the rules. And through this transit, you might feel like you have been feeling like you are becoming a different person, because when Pluto transits through an area of your chart, it can start out feeling a bit more difficult. It sort of starts by breaking things down and then building them up again. So maybe in the beginning of this transit, there was a lot of uncertainty or chaos in that area of your life. And you're getting to a point now where things are starting to build, or whether it is success, or whether it's just you finding out what your direction in life is. But basically, you know, there's a huge change going through this area of your life, and either your place of living or your direction or your status, whether it's marriage or your reputation, and something is completely changing permanently once Pluto moves through this area. And it's a death of the old and a rebirth of something new. And it can take time to find yourself, but this is the transit that you want to do it in. This is going to be your most beautiful transformation if you can realize what's happening to you. And this transit will be there until 2023. Let's look at your 12th house, where Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, 2012 until 2025. So this is also a long transit. And with Neptune in your 12th house in Pisces, this is usually a transit where there's a lot of deep inner reflection. You're questioning the meaning of life, life after death. You're not as interested in material success. Usually, if you've never believed in immortality as far as your own soul, you might be contemplating this now. Sometimes this can be brought on by circumstances, maybe a death of someone, or a near-death experience, or just your mind going to this place. But you will definitely become more aware of your connectedness to everything and everyone as a whole. And you might be prompted to spend time in meditation or a lot more time alone. You might not be as social with this transit. Or if you are, you'd want to be more socializing in regards to the deeper things of life. This is a great transit for profound contemplation. It gives you a very strong intuition. And you might also feel more charitable during this transit, or you could be the one benefiting from it. At times, this can indicate travel by water. It can also bring up the fact that you need to be aware of being taken advantage of, because this is a very compassionate transit where you might be very giving and kind, and you don't want to be taken advantage of by organizations that are not truthful. So just be aware of that, and watch your escapism tendencies and your self-sabotaging habits, like drinking, etc., drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. You want to make sure, if you find yourself getting depressed, that you get someone to talk to during this time, because this is a transit where you might dwell on the past quite a bit in order for you to heal it. So you might also experience a lot of intuitive dreaming and dreams from the past that brings up memories from the past that makes you go there. And this is usually indicators that there are things that you have not resolved yet and that you need to work on. And sometimes we need help with that. So if this is the case, please do that, because if you ponder on the negative too long, you can end up feeling like you're drowning in it. And this is where people can become, obviously very sad. So try and avoid that. Try and, really transform that into something positive in what you have learned and putting it behind you and deciding how you're going to move forward instead. But basically what the 12th house represents is self-sabotage, far-off places, bed pleasures. So your sex life might be a lot more romantic with your partner and more poetic. This is the area of poetry and music. It's also the area of grief and endings and funerals and hospitals and seclusion in general, meditation, the past, yesterday. It can also be a place of profound contemplation. And as far as people are concerned, this usually deals with people that are associated with those types of places, like an orphan or a monk or someone like that, or someone that works behind the scenes or whatever like that. But if you do find yourself really drowning in sadness over something specific, then it is a good time to work within a charitable environment where you can put your energy into others' pain, where you can help others heal, where you can spend time around, say you have cancer, around maybe working with children that have it, so that it takes the attention and the focus off of your own pain, and you can see yourself from a different perspective and help others in the meantime, and you get healing through that as well. You're blessing them and they're blessing you. So this can sometimes be a really good way. I'm just giving that as an example of being able to work with intense inner pain that you might be feeling. Of course, this is different for everyone. So it will depend on your own personal chart and aspect in, integration. Let's have a look at your second house. This is the house where Uranus is in Taurus as of 2018 until 2026. Now, your second house deals with your income. It deals with your movable possessions, property, investments, banking, the future, especially financially. It also deals with talents and skills. It deals with your eating habits, your drinking habits. It deals with your security, your safety, your values, your morals, your resources, and also your ancestors. And in some cases, it also affects your relationships, your close relationships, usually your spouse. Now, with Uranus in this area, you can expect a lot of fluctuations financially and changes. So it's very important to stay flexible in order for you to withstand, unexpected changes in this area. Sometimes it can indicate a change of job, or maybe moving into something more to do online or with new technology, or some kind of innovation. Maybe you're, starting a business with innovation in regards to technology, and so forth. But your values will most likely change quite a bit with Uranus in this area, and how you value things, what you spend your money on. You might get rid of possessions suddenly, or you might feel, just different about the things that you own, and become, asking yourself, do I own it or does it own me? It can sometimes indicate difficulty in relationships, also ups and downs, also especially if there's financial difficulties. And with Uranus here, the change can sometimes initially be a bit uprooting, a bit upsetting at times, but it is always a growth experience. There's a purification towards it. So you basically can free yourself from the attachment of certain things and realize that what's important is the memories that are attached to these things, not necessarily the things themselves. But your values will definitely change through this transit. There's also the possibility that you might consider investing in Bitcoin or some other digital form of currency, or something unconventional in any way. You might change the way you earn money, but there is opportunities for growth here. You might have great ideas about a business that you'd like to start, or that you'd like to do in the future, or maybe you're already working on it and you're just getting great ideas to further that. But either way, just stay flexible. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, since it is very unpredictable financially and security-wise with Uranus in this house. And then let's have a look at... and before I forget, you might also be eating things that are quite unusual. Maybe you are suddenly deciding that you don't eat meat, or you don't do dairy anymore. You could suddenly follow a very strange diet to other people, but to you it's very important, or you suddenly get this, brainwave that you need to stop taking, drinking tap water, or whatever the case may be. And then let's have a look at your 11th house. Your 11th house deals with friends, advisors. It deals with your son and daughter-in-law. It also deals with co-workers, your company that you work for's finances, politics, groups and memberships that you could belong to. Like say you belong to an AA membership, this would be the area, or your political affiliation, your gym membership, and so forth. This is also the area of your hopes and dreams for the future, deaths in the family, legislation, rules, and so forth. Now with Saturn in Aquarius in your 11th house, Saturn will be there from December 2020 until March 2023. And you might feel a need to integrate into a group more. So you won't be... you'll be less of an individual during this transit. So you'll be more part of a group or a cause or something like that. You might find that you're doing more humanitarian work as well. If you're working for a company, their financial area could maybe be slowing down a bit, or there's a lot of hard work in that area to get it back up to par. It can sometimes indicate challenges in regards to getting along with coworkers or friends. So there could be some cooperation issues. Or it could indicate that you have more responsibilities in this area, whether it's your company's finances or maybe hiring other people in your team at work, or whether it's a family member that's on their deathbed that you need to take care of.
but there's maybe more responsibilities in this area. But you will be rewarded for this. This is not always an easy transit. With Saturn is a planet that requires hard work and discipline and diligence. It's not always an easy transit, but it's always rewarding, even if it's not in a tangible, successful way, but in lessons learned and in a wisdom way. And if you've worked really hard towards your hopes and dreams or a certain goal, this could also be the time where that, through this transit, that you will get some kind of mature fruition, in the sense of knowing really now how to attain this goal. By the end of this transit, and you'll have more clarity and know-how. It can also sometimes indicate that a wise person or an older person, or maybe someone of a high position, comes into your life as some kind of a mentor or advisor. So this could also be a good time, if you do have questions and someone doesn't appear out of nowhere, to actually ask someone wiser for advice. And also in this 11th house, Jupiter will be entering as well in December 2020, and will be there for the year till basically around the end of November. And it will briefly move into Pisces around May and June, and then retrograde back into Aquarius, which is your 11th house. So it'll go from the 11th to the 12th back into the 11th. Now with Jupiter here, this can suggest benefits through friends. Now this doesn't always mean that they're giving you gifts necessarily or something like that, but it could be that you are benefiting in some way from a friend, whether it's a spiritual benefit or just support in some way. Or maybe you are the support to them. You could be thinking about foreign interests in regards to future plans with this transit. It can sometimes bring in a teacher into your life, or some kind of person that teaches you something, or it's probably a person that's very different from you or from a foreign country. Or maybe it's someone, a new coworker that is from far away. And you'll be more involved in group activities here, or you'll be involved with people from overseas in some way. But you'll be learning a lot through this transit in this area of your life. You'll be learning more in group activities, and this is usually a time where you do need people around you. So even if you might not be feeling like socializing much or being around a lot of people, there is spiritual benefit and blessings that comes with this. There's learning and blessings coming from this. So this is a period where you will be giving and taking. You'll be helping and you will be helped as well. And you'll be more inclined to want to improve the world around you. You'll be more aware of the injustices in the world and wanting to help and being more part of the solution. You'll be more aware of the community as a whole and what is really needed. And you might find that you really want to get involved in working together for everyone's benefit. And then while Jupiter goes into Pisces for around May and June, this really ups the opportunities for learning the spiritual dimensions of life. So you'll become even more spiritual and more intuitive, and you'll probably experience you could be experiencing prophetic dreams and really meaningful sleep time. And you can sometimes come more face to face with your darker self with Jupiter in the 12th house here. In order for you to deal with this and purge it and heal it. You might feel more empathetic towards yourself and others. And sometimes this can even indicate blessings through a spiritual teacher, or someone that will be able to help you. So this is a great time, like I said before. You have Neptune here, and with Jupiter here as well. If you do need to talk to anyone, this is the time to do it. And this spiritual teacher is not necessarily an actual teacher. You know, this could be anyone in your life that comes and teaches you valuable lessons of life and has really meaningful conversations with you, or you're just learning by observing, whichever it is. But this is a time to spend with the divine. This is a time where you want to spend a lot of time in meditation and contemplation. You might decide to travel to a far off place, or maybe take a studying course, learning somewhere far away, or maybe you're teaching. But you will be broadening your understanding about the world around you more with this transit. Sometimes it can indicate the death of someone. And usually if it involves Jupiter, it is there is some kind of relief connected to a loss like this. So maybe it's someone that has been really suffering, and it's one of those situations where it really is a release when they go, because for them to hang on is more painful. You might be the one that's a spiritual mentor or teacher to someone else. So this could be the other way around as well. And you might find yourself more integrating into a church or some kind of religious movement or involvement spiritually as well. Now let's have a look at Mars going through your chart through the year. Now Mars will be in your second house of Taurus as of the 7th of January. And with Mars in your second house, let's just look at the second house. This is where Uranus is, and we've spoken about this. It's your area of property, movable possessions, your income, your money, your talents, your resources, your values, your security, etc. Now, with Mars here, you'll have a more practical approach since it's in Taurus. You might find that you're acting as if you are what you have with this transit. So be careful of that. Rather use this time to really evaluate your values and what is really important and what is not. And you might be experiencing some arguments in regards to property and possessions and values and beliefs while Mars is in this area. And you might be quite defensive about your values. So just be careful not to shove them down others' throats. You might find that you can be more impulsive with your spending. Sometimes this indicates that you're using your possessions to work, or you're working on them. And you can also be eating quite fast, or talking very quickly. It can even indicate the initiation of a business, the startup of a business. Maybe it's a business idea. Maybe it's got something to do with the voice Maybe you want to sing, and so forth. Now, while Mars is in the second house, you also want to know that it will be conjuncting Uranus while it's transiting through there. And this can sometimes bring up sudden upsetting events. It can be erratic behavior in regards to possessions or finances or even love, because this transit can bring arguments with your significant other as well, or business partners, people that you have close relationships with, especially in regards to money. This can indicate financial fluctuations. It can sometimes indicate a need for surgery. You might want to watch your thyroid during this time, as well as neck injuries and just conflicts in general, and arguments in general. To be more aware of that and ask yourself if it's really worth arguing about. And then with Mars, we'll be transiting into Cancer, which is your 4th house, by the 23rd of March. Now, while Mars is in Cancer, you might find yourself a bit overly emotional with issues. You might find it more difficult to be objective, and more resentful of criticism. So just be aware of that. It helps you to move through this phase. It can bring conflict with relatives or women. It can bring up unconscious patterns from the past, behavioral patterns, and it can actually cause you to act inappropriate at times. So be aware of that. You're probably very busy during this transit. You could be working on building a home, or working on, on a home or in the home on something. It can be harder for you to get along with your family and the people that you live with, or your parents especially. And you might feel at this time that you want to live alone, or you're just spending more time alone at home. You might be working from home, and you need to be a bit careful for accidents during this transit, and especially also while you're cooking, with using knives and things like that, as well as fire accidents, or to do with electricity, and so forth. It might also feel to you as if someone is sort of working against you in a way with this transit, which can also be part of the cause of arguments. Now, Mars will be opposing Pluto in your 10th house while it's transiting here in the 4th house. Now, and before I talk about that, I didn't say what the 4th house is about. Now, the 4th house, where Mars is in Cancer, as of the 23rd of March, is the area of your home, where you live. It's your parents, it's domestic affairs, it's also can be property or inheritance, and so on. So, but while it's transiting through your home area, it will be opposing Pluto, which is in your 10th house and the career area of your house, of your chart. And while Mars is opposing Pluto, you can meet up with resistance. There can be quite an intense energy between work and home, or, your own personal freedom in regards to responsibilities and things that need to get done, or, people in your home and how it affects your work, that kind of thing. It can also indicate a culmination of persistent effort, but it's usually a power struggle of some kind, maybe with a boss or some authority figure. Be careful of acting in disregard to others' feelings. You want to be more aware of how you're treating others, especially with Mars involved. And if you need help or assistance, whether it's the law you're dealing with, or an employer, or some kind of court decision, or anything that you could be dealing with an authority figure, or whatever, don't go at it alone. You need help with this transit, so get the help. And sometimes this can indicate an illness, facing an illness, or your parents or someone in your family facing an illness. And sometimes this can indicate violent anger outbursts. So just be aware of that as well. Of course, this is not necessarily going to happen to everyone, but these are just possibilities. Then Mars will be in Leo in your 5th house as of the 11th of June. And your 5th house deals with love affairs. It deals with children. It deals with pregnancy and fun and politics. And it deals with creative projects and entertainment. And it deals with also an advisor, messengers, sport, etc. And with Mars in this area, it'll be in Leo, and it will enhance your leadership ability. It will also enhance your drive for power and control, and your urge to succeed will be more magnified. You can be a lot more passionate sexually. You can be very passionate about your creative work and find a lot of inspiration to get things done if you've been kind of stuck in an area creatively. You'll want to really express yourself with this transit. It's beautiful. And you'll want to have more fun than work with Mars in this area. It can sometimes indicate a lover appearing on the scene. And sometimes it can also indicate conflict with your children or with a lover. And sport could be more of an emphasis. And also be aware of accidents in regards to your children, and whilst having fun, doing things for fun. You know, fun activities or creative projects that you don't injure yourself with Mars here. And then Mars will also be opposing Saturn while it's transiting through this house. And Saturn is in your 11th, like we spoke about. Now, while it's opposing Saturn, it can be a frustrating aspect, like a stop-start type of effect. Like you want to go and Saturn's saying no. So it can also indicate an ego conflict that you're meeting up with, some type of form of discipline or restriction. Maybe you're applying the restrictions on your children, or it's maybe a work-related thing that's causing you to not be able to go to your rugby practice at 4 because your shift's been changed, or something like that. But it's a good aspect in regards to focusing on work. It helps you with intense focus and having the energy and drive to get it done. But it can be a bit of a psychological attack of a feeling that you could be going through. Maybe that's also helping you drive more towards accomplishing something in this area, because you could be feeling more insecure facing Saturn. Sometimes it's legislation that can block plans. And like I said, it could indicate discipline in regards to your children as well. And then Mars will be traveling in Virgo, your 6th house, as of the 29th of July. And the 6th house deals with your health. It deals with civil service work. It deals with your work environment, say your office. Also can be co-workers. It can be pets. It can also be a doctor or a nurse or a dentist, an uncle or an aunt. If you have a business, it can be employees. It can be a tenant if you have units that you rent out or something like that. It can be duties and responsibilities, but it's your everyday habits and responsibilities and schedule and so forth. And with Mars in this area, you might find you are going through a period where efficiency and orderliness is more important for you. You're more detail oriented. You're finding more practical solutions. You want to work in a more systematic manner. You want to clear out your desk and really sort through things and really, clean up everything, organize. You're more getting your health and hygiene routines in check and making lists and making sure, you don't forget anything. And it can make you quite proud of your work with this transit, and that you're proud of the efficiency that you have. But it can sometimes indicate conflict with authority figures. So you might feel that like you want to work for yourself, or you might want to work more independently at work in order to avoid authority figures. Sometimes it can indicate that you want to be acknowledged in your work more. Say you're in a big company and you're really feeling that the need to want to stand out and be, recognized for what you do. But it can also mean that you need to be, say you are the employer, and this is maybe the other way around, that you need to become aware of giving your employees the recognition they deserve as well. And that if this is a team effort, that everyone's part in it played an important role. It can also indicate illness that could maybe come on suddenly, or a fever, or anxiety, or headaches, or infections, or inflammation can be more of a issue with Mars in this area. Sometimes it can indicate illness, but accidents in the workplace. So be careful of that. And then it's everything got to do with sharp objects, fire, electricity, unexpected things that sort of happen, boom. But it's important that during this transit, you realize you will be probably very busy and working very hard. And not everyone else is going to have that energy. So be aware of that. Don't expect the same kind of drive from others during this. And you might need to really exercise more during this time because of your high work ethic, and hard work ethic during this time, that you'll need to release stress. Otherwise, you could become ill from overdoing it. So make sure you're not overworking. And then Mars will oppose Neptune in your 12th house while it's going through this 6th house area. And this can sometimes indicate allergies or reactions to even medicine like pharmaceuticals, and illnesses sometimes. It can make you feel more tired and make you want to slow down more. So you want to make sure that you don't overdo things, that it's an illness that actually slows you down. You want to be the one that keeps the pace and make sure that you are taking care of your body and yourself, body, mind, and soul, the whole being, in order for you to stay healthy and be able to accomplish those goals that you have. It can sometimes indicate misunderstandings in the work environment with Mars opposite Neptune, but you'll already be aware of that. And then Mars will be in Scorpio, your 8th house, around the 30th of October. And with the 8th house, we're dealing with other people's money. We're dealing with your spouse's income or shared money with your spouse or with a business partner or something like that. It's wills and legacies, it's alimony, it's taxes, bankruptcy. So it's people that you owe. It can also be the area of injury, surgery, and death. And therefore, and also intimacy. This is the area of deep intimacy and also trauma from the past. So while Mars is here, you'll have a more purposeful drive. You'll be more determined and courageous. It's kind of a do or die energy. It's that courage. It's wonderful if you are trying to achieve something great. Now, it can mean that you are working more with other people's money. Maybe you're an investor and you're investing money for other people. It could mean that you have an encounter with either an event, some kind of circumstance, or a person that has a powerful impact on you. That causes you to change internally because of this experience or this person. It can indicate that you're actively investing into, maybe you are finding a new investment that you want to invest your money into, or maybe you are deciding to share resources with someone in some way. But this can usually, more than others, indicate conflicts in regards to shared resources or spending. Sometimes it's husbands and wives fighting over, the joint account and why you maybe bought the taller tree instead of the more affordable tree. So it can indicate conflict in that area, or maybe conflict in regards to tax collecting or money that you owe. It can also be a conflict in regards to values, other values, and also property. This is not usually a good time to take out a loan. But this is also a time where you will be finding yourself sexually more intimate, whether you normally are or not. If you do have a partner, you'll want really deep emotional experiences. And it's important to keep in mind that not everyone will be going through that same intense transit. So just be mindful of that. But basically, this is a death of something and a rebirth of something. So you're letting something go in order for something new to take place here, usually. Now, while Mars is traveling through the 8th house, it'll also be opposing Uranus in your 2nd house of income. And this can indicate impatience, as striking out at others. It can also indicate accidents or mistakes in regards to money. Again, conflict in regards to money and spending and joint resources and just money in general. It can sometimes indicate a sudden change in an income or a job. Like maybe you are used to getting alimony, and suddenly that's not available anymore. And suddenly you gotta, pull some strings here or there, because usually this is unexpected, sudden things. You might change your job because of a sense of security, or this could involve property or possessions or investments, shared resources in any way. And this can even indicate jealousy in some cases. Now let's have a look at the retrogrades for the year. We have Mercury going retrograde in all 3 air signs this year. First Aquarius, then Gemini, then Libra. And with these retrogrades in air, it really emphasizes air this year. We've got ourselves moving into the age of Aquarius, which is air. We've got Mercury going retrograde in all 3 air signs. So this is very much about information, knowledge, the mind, communication of all levels. So there's a huge emphasis on communication this year, and information and knowledge. So let's have a look. It will be retrograding January 30th until February 21st in Aquarius, your 11th house. So you might come across some gossip that you don't want to be too upset about because it's probably untrue. You need to be more careful about judging others. First, make sure you get the full facts. So don't make a fool of yourself and react to things without really getting the facts on them first. You might find that you're cutting back socially a bit more. And sometimes it can bring back old friends or something about an old, group membership or alliance that you were, information about that coming back, or a friend from the past that comes back into your life, or you're just revisiting maybe relationship issues with that person during this time. And with Mercury going retrograde in Gemini, it will be in your 3rd house. And that will be from May 30th until June 23rd. And you can experience more misunderstandings in communication during this time. Your electronics, your emails, especially your online communications might be interrupted or rescheduled. You might have schedule changes daily at work, even just your day-to-day things. You might be rerouted on your way to work, your commute. This can involve your vehicle. You might need to take your vehicle in for a repair or change your normal, route to work, or you might need winter tires or something like that. And then Mercury will be retrograding in Libra, which will be your 7th house of relationships, and that is from September 27th to October 18th. And with Mercury retrograde here, you do not want to sign any contracts. You do not want to go for any beauty procedures or makeovers, or make any new investments or choices with money. And it can sometimes bring in old lovers, or bring up just aspects about the relationships of, with them. And basically, like any other Mercury retrograde, you want to be careful of your negotiating, your listening, your talking, your communication. Did my email go through? Double check things. You might have issues paying with your credit card. Writing, travel, all of those things. There's more mistakes in writing, for example. If you're traveling, you want to double check all the information. You want to double check that you have all the paperwork, that you're not forgetting that something small that could have a big problem, and so forth. And watch out for electronics being stolen as well. And you don't want to purchase electronics if you can help it during a Mercury retrograde. So don't buy a phone or a computer if you can help it. And if you really need to sign a contract, try and just negotiate to do it at a later date. But usually if the decision was already made before the Mercury retrograde, it should usually be fine. But I'd still recommend not to do it during this time. Venus will be retrograding December 19th until January 29th of 2022. And during Venus retrograde, issues related to love and money can sometimes stagnate or bring up challenges in relationships. There can be challenges in relationships in any way. Old lovers can surface, either issues with them or them themselves, in order to heal and move forward. You might find yourself more aware of what others think of you during this time, and more conscious of your image and your status and your earning abilities. And what I would say is that you and God determine your worth, not other people or what you make or what you do for a living. So it's important to really go and establish your inner worth during this time and realize how unique and special you are. Maybe you need to have a look at the gifts that you have been given and how you can develop them more so that you can feel personally more fulfilled in order to realize your self-worth. And then we will have Jupiter going retrograde as of June 20th until October 18th, from Pisces into Aquarius. And Jupiter will be a retrograde period of inner spiritual growth and reflection. And you'll find that you're probably more compassionate during this time. There's usually an emphasis more on the meaning of life and the deeper values and beliefs. You turn more inward spiritually with a Jupiter return. And return. And you might find you're investigating faith more. You're looking up more spiritual topics, and you might be going through a spiritual lesson during this retrograde. And you might find that you're more aware of the injustices in the world and that you want to get involved and make a difference. But it's usually a period where you make your own luck. You kind of have to make things happen for yourself there. It doesn't come as easily. And sometimes it can happen that you are someone now that is there to help someone else in a time of need. So you are the blessing to someone else during a Jupiter retrograde. It can also mean that you're just spending much more time reflecting, time in prayer and meditation. And then we have Saturn retrograding as of May 23rd until October 11th in Aquarius. And Saturn reminds us of reality, the aspects of life that we can't avoid, like taxes, rules, responsibilities, the length of life, restrictions, authority, and time itself, and commitments. And it's usually a time of restructuring. And your allegiances to groups can be tested during this Saturn retrograde. You might feel that you want to jump ship all of a sudden. And you might even cut ties with some friends or co-workers or people that you used to be associated with. Maybe a political party. Let's have a look at the eclipses for 2021. On the 26th of May, there will be a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is your 9th house. And during this eclipse, this is the activation of an ending or a culmination of something that's come to a fruition or coming to a head, or something that you are finishing. And This doesn't mean that it necessarily has to happen at that day. Eclipses can have an influence of 6 months and more. So you want to be aware of that. But this is usually a marking of that finishing line of some sort. So in that time pattern, you will most likely be finishing something in regards to old belief patterns. Maybe you are letting go of some ways that you believed as a child, and you're now coming to your own understanding of it, and sort of carving your own course now. So you're letting go of some of your maybe boxed thinking from before. It can mean that you're finishing a studying course of some kind, or maybe you're finishing a book and you're getting ready to publish it. It can be that you are finishing immigration paperwork for moving to another country, or maybe you've come to the end of your period where you qualify to attain citizenship somewhere. It can mean that you're finally getting to that point where you're going to move to a foreign country, or maybe you are publishing that book now, or getting ready to publish it now. Or maybe you're finishing a trip, or you're finalizing plans towards a faraway trip, or a business in regards to imports and exports. And then on the 10th of June, there will be a solar eclipse in Gemini in the 3rd house. And this is usually a new beginning, or a new leaf turned over, or a seed of intention in that area of your life. And again, this is a long period of affecting this issue. It's not necessarily that day. But it could be a new mode of transportation, or a new route. Maybe you're buying a new car. It could be a new neighborhood that you're moving into, or maybe you're working in a new neighborhood, or you're hanging out in a new neighborhood. It's a new area of socializing, or your communication style changes. It could be that you're learning a new language. It can also be a new computer program or skill that you're gaining in regards to maybe a new program that you're using at work. Or it can even be a new relationship in regards to your relatives or siblings or a friend. It can indicate a new friend. It can also have something to do with your skills and trade in general. Maybe you are purchasing something that is very new to you. It can be new information that comes your way and helps you to make better decisions. It can be some kind of message. It can be that your mind suddenly understands a concept that you weren't able to grasp before, and your understanding is expanded. And this can have something to do with beliefs as well, and your opinions on things. And then on the 19th of November, there will be a lunar eclipse in Taurus in your 2nd house. And this is a lunar eclipse, therefore it's some kind of culmination or something that's finishing up in this area of your life. So this could be a job or a source of income that's changing form in some way. It can be change of business. It can be a change of how you value yourself and your values in general. It can be how you spend money, that you're spending money differently. It can also be your relationships, with your close relationships with a partner or a business partner that comes into play here. That could be ending. or changing permanently. This can have to do with possessions or property. Maybe you're selling a house, or you're giving away possessions that you've been hoarding for too long, and you want to feel lighter and practice non-attachment. It can be something that you're finishing even that you did with your own hands. Because this is Taurus, it's very hands-on. So it could be something that maybe you built a house or built something, and you're finally finishing this handiwork of yours. It can be, the end of your own business, maybe, if you've decided to, close a business, or the end of finishing the planning of it. So now you can actually move forward with your plans. It can be a change just in your earnings in general, in bad eating habits, in the way you speak, the way you use your voice. Sometimes this can mean that you lose your voice. Maybe you have a cold or something like that. And it can sometimes indicate issues with the thyroid, because this is the area of thyroid. So this could be maybe even an end of a problem with the thyroid. Maybe, this is some good news here. And then on the 4th of December, there will be a solar eclipse in Sagittarius, which is your 9th house. And again, a solar eclipse, this would be a new beginning, a new leaf being turned, or a seed of intention that's being planted. Maybe it's an idea and you're now going to take it from here. So this can be a new course of study, or maybe a new university or a new facility. It can be a change in the direction that you are studying. It can mean that you're investigating faith in a new way, or a new belief system, or you're maybe getting a new perspective or understanding of a belief system or faith. It can mean, it can have something to do with your travel plans for overseas, foreign affairs, planning towards the future. It can be a new book that you want to write or you want to publish. It can be a new course that you want to teach, or a new teaching job overseas. Or it can even indicate something to do with your step parents, or with the law, or with a grandchild or an in-law. Now, for most of 2021, we will be experiencing a square aspect between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. And this is an uncomfortable configuration, and collectively everyone will be experiencing it. But in your case, this falls in your 2nd house of income and values, and your 11th house, which is the area of your business or company that you work for, financials. It's the area of legislation and hopes and dreams and so forth. So this could indicate maybe issues in regards to legislation or rules of some kind by the government that affect your income or your property. It can also maybe indicate issues in regards to the company you work for's income that affects your income. But basically anything related to the 11th house, which is your dreams for the future, your plans, legislation, and, for example, friends, co-workers, a son and daughter-in-law, people related to that house, and then your area of security, values, your movable possessions, your resources, what you eat, and so forth. So that's the areas of your life that will be affected by this square. So it'll of course differ from person to person how strongly this will actually affect them, or if even at all. It might be very mild frustration going on, but that's the areas where you will probably notice the uncomfortability. And then Aries, I would like to recommend the Lavender essential oil and the Obsidian stone. Now, one of the qualities of Obsidian stone is that it includes the reflection of one's flaws and helps you to get a clear picture of the changes necessary to eliminate those flaws. It's also a wonderful grounding stone. It shields against negativity, and it's transforming of negative vibrations within an environment. And it's really useful in healing. So that's a wonderful stone to always have in your collection. And the lavender essential oil is wonderful to reduce anxiety. It's wonderful to heal burns. It reduces mental stress. It can help treat insomnia. It can help improve blood circulation. It can help battle respiratory tract infections. It boosts immunity and digestive health. It can relieve muscle and joint pains. It's an effective bug repellent. It also treats acne and hair loss, and it increases cognitive functions. But I think most importantly, it's a really calming, all-in-one kind of essential oil that you can use for so many things. And you can of course put this in your diffuser, or you can even rub it with a blended blend oil under your feet, as it absorbs very quickly there. Well, Aries, thank you for allowing me to guide you through 2021. Please check the links in the description box below for the best quality essential oils. May God bless you and keep you. May the sun shine bright on you this day and year.